Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, the podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, both classic and new comics we want to read, and everything else in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Planes, Trains, and Comic Books. Today we are celebrating America. We're celebrating for the 4th of July.
America.
Fuck yeah. We read this little patriotic comic you might not have heard of. I don't know. May or may not have. Called American Flagg. And we're lying. It's not a patriotic comic. It's the opposite. But
American Flag with 2 G's.
It was 2 G's. It is a fantastic comic from the 80s by the one, the only Howard Chaykin. Now, I was telling John, I don't think we've read anything by him before that he's written, but he definitely drew the Star Wars, the original Marvel Star Wars comic that we read a while ago, I don't know, like a year ago now. Which we enjoyed the wrong illustrations.
Yeah,
didn't know what things were.
Yeah,
stuff, so
that's what I specifically remember. Is like the art in it was cool, but it was weird because there was like things that were off.
Yeah, and Luke had like such a strong jaw. And
but I get it, and now especially now seeing with him and like his characters, like okay, well,
yes,
that was his style, and he had to Marvel. He had to fit within Marvel's terms, but also had to get this out without all the details of the movie yet. So.
Yes. Yeah, they were like, it's a Chewbacca. And he's like, what's that?
What's
I don't know.
It's a big furry thing. I don't know. It's a dog.
It's like
a dog.
It's like a dog ape or something. It's like, all right.
Go with it.
Yeah. He's got a strong chin, though. Strong. So we're joking about the strong chins because if you don't know who Howard Chaykin is, if you've ever seen one of his leading men, you've seen all of his leading men because they generally all look the same or very similar of a very svelte, but like 50s svelte, like they belong in like a pulp magazine svelte. Like what's his name? I don't know. Whenever you see like those black and white photos of like old like movie stars in their like swimsuits that go up to their belly button.
Yeah.
And they're like they're muscular, but they're not like ripped or whatever. They're not like they're not like Dwayne Johnson.
It's old school. Old school
ripped.
Ripped is gonna be like just like kind of like larger shapes, but more from the like belly up.
Yeah,
it almost looks like that you're starting to get swollen, and then have no definition.
Yes, there's less definition, but you're definitely muscular underneath.
I definitely wouldn't want to get punched by any of those people.
No, for sure. They're not The Rock, but they definitely have a muscle behind them. You can tell they're imposing. And then they have the fucking jawline. He draws this jawline. He's got it down. When he draws a jawline, goddammit, that guy can take a hit. And he can dish it out too. So, but yeah, this book called American Flagg came out in 1983. And for those of you who are following, that is before such books as The Dark Knight Returns and The Watchmen by Alan Moore. And also before the movie They Live. And I say that because a lot of those things...
We're going to see some similarities.
We're going to see some topics that are touched in this that are also touched in those books that are so revolutionary that everybody talks about. But no one realizes this book was kind of first in a lot of those dystopian future / government corruption / even like police corruption and all that kind of stuff. Or like even the over corporatization of America, RoboCop, yeah, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of things that this beats, but no one really talks about this one as much.
The only similarity that Matt and I were talking about, and I mentioned, is that there's a little bit of a Judge Dredd feel, and Judge Dredd was a couple years, I think you said before.
Yeah, I think Judge Dredd was like 77 or 78.
That's still like getting off the ground. So
and that was in England.
Like, yeah.
So I don't know how much crossover there was, but the idea of this isn't as totalitarian as far as the police are concerned as Judge Dredd is. Yeah. Whereas they are like, we are the fucking, we will murder you in front of everybody, and that is justice or whatever. This is like, you get drafted into the police, and so you have to serve in the police, but they're not like they're not like goons that go around and like just murder people
Yeah.
or whatever, or judge people on the spot or whatever. So they're more like your standard police officers. But so this is, like we said, 1983, written and drawn by Howard Chaykin. And another thing, as far as Howard Chaykin's drawings on this go, his art, this reminds me, this is one of the most well drawn or most interesting drawn series I've ever seen. It really feels, and I was talking to John about this, like Howard Chaykin was a madman, like advertisement artist,
marketing,
or something.
advertising, yeah, for sure.
He has a different design eye or something. The way he draws these panels, like the way he sets up a page, the way he draws the sound effects and all that, it just totally does not feel like anything else I've ever read since or even now. Like I never read anything that has this kind of like art style in it or whatever. Even his other works don't have this art style in it. Like this was specifically for this story, I think. And it really puts you in this world.
And that was something I noticed right off the bat too. And I have to say, like, I was really stunned in starting to read this because, like, yeah, especially like all the sound effects and onomatopoeia kind of things that he does, the way that he puts those on the page is very clever. It's very different from things I have seen before. Like,
and it's graphic. It's actually like part of the art.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it is part of the scene. It's not like just plastered on top or in the background on something.
Right. Or in a thought bubble or a sound bubble or something.
Or like we're saying with the way that they're placed, like sometimes they are intermixed with things, but it's like clever to hide or highlight something, and it's really cool.
Yeah. So we'll get into, as we hit them, we'll talk about that stuff more. But just know this is one of the best, artistically, one of the best comics I've ever read, and like subject matter wise, it is also one of the best comics I've ever read. And this is basically like Howard Chaykin's probably best, like its masterpiece. I don't know if he would say that. He'd probably like go fuck yourself. But like you know
better things I've done since.
Yeah, exactly. In his mind, whatever he's doing now is probably the best thing he's ever done, or he's got a favorite thing or something. But because he's done a lot of work after this, this just met like perfect with his art style and his ideas, and this was like he did the first 12 issues and then he handed it off to some other people, and it went on for 50 more issues. I think from what I heard, it kind of lost its way, like it just kind of became a standard tough guy comic or something, and then he came back at like the last 5 or 10 issues to kind of like reroute it to the way he wanted it to end or something. But I heard the middle got a little muddy or whatever, because other people writing him, they're just like, yeah, he's a tough guy, and this is like, no, there's like layers to him or whatever. But so anyway, we'll get into this. But and also we had said we were going to read the first 6 issues of his trade, because to get the American Flag trade paperback, it's 12 issues inside of it. It's a big story arc inside of it. So we were like, oh, we should read the first 6 issues because that's probably the first story arc. It's actually the first 3 issues. It's a dense 3 issues, so we were just going to stick with those. It is
a dense, yeah.
But even though it's dense, it was very fun and intriguing to read. So right away, we get a very different world. There are giant jumbo jets flying through space, like airplanes nowadays, but they're space travel, right? So we get this jet is flying in space, and there's just all this space debris and shit all around, and you can tell like everybody's not quite great at their job. The pilots are running into fucking satellites and shit, and they're like, oh well, whatever. And then like it seems like Earth is not in a very good place. They're going to Earth, and from Mars, basically. They're bringing all these people from Mars, which is where we have now colonized, I guess. So there's a colony on Mars that is on its own and doesn't have really anything to do with America now on Earth, other than it's still considered part of America because you have citizenship there as part of America. But it's kind of like the way that they were talking about it is like the way that, I don't know, someone from the 50s, like if you went back to the 50s and they talked about America, that's how Mars thinks about America, and now it's the 80s, and the 80s is all about consumer craziness or whatever. But now this doesn't take place in the 80s now. This actually takes place in the 2030s, right?
2030s.
Yeah. And so they're even further in. This is in fucking 10 years, man.
This we had to look forward to.
Yeah, exactly. So, but this world, this new America that people from Mars are going to. Mars thinks America's like the land of the free, home of the brave. America the beautiful, for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain. That's what they're thinking. And then they even say like, the amber is turned to like black soot or whatever, and the fucking beautiful skies are ugly and all gone and everything. So like he talks about what it was like thinking what America was like from Mars and then coming here for real and seeing it. But so they land here, and right away we kind of get a look at what their TV is like. This is also, I think, if you look at especially Dark Knight, but a lot of comics after this, I have not seen anything before this that did this. This might be the first comic that used TV panels to show, to give either exposition or to show like what the world is like now, kind of thing. Because Dark Knight did that a lot. There was a lot of news programs that were showing exposition about the Dark Knight, or this gang got beat up or whatever, or the Batman's back kind of thing. I know that like Spawn does that because I just read Spawn and they still do that in it. And then like, so like this might be the first comic where you have like commercial. You just see commercials that gives you a feel for what America is like now. So you see like, come down to Jerry Rig Custom Firearms where you can buy anything. We got the best nukes in the business or whatever, and just kind of shit like that. And then you see like a girl, give Polly Peacemaker a ring on a toll-free line, like a sex line,
like a sex line or something.
She's like in lingerie and fishnets, like on the front of a tank, and just like this is what the world has become. There's violence on the screen. There's romance or like dating games and just shit like that. That's what you're seeing. And like when I say violence on the screens, they're literally showing like it's like Cops. This is before Cops too, right?
Yeah,
Cops was in the 90s. This is before Cops, so this preempted Cops. They are showing Cops, but they're showing them like blow away people on real. Like it'd be like if Cops showed them just murder everybody every episode, and people are like, "Yeah, you get good job, Cops," or what like. So it's kind of similar to now. So
we're not saying that there's a lot of similarities to now in this too, but we'll get into some more.
But there are some similarities to now, surprisingly. But yeah, so this is like the setup for this this TV. What's going on TV, what this world is like, and like we get introduced to like Rick Flagg.
Ruben Flagg.
I'm sorry, Ruben Flagg.
I know. I've done that several times.
You know why
too,
I say Rick Flagg? Because of fucking Stephen King. Stephen King, there's a character named Rick Flagg as well. But there's also, what's the Rick Flagg?
Well, what's the Rick Flagg from the, is it Suicide Squad or?
Yes, that's Rick Flagg as well.
Yeah, so that's
a couple Rick Flaggs.
Yeah.
No, Randall Flagg is the one from StephenKing.
Okay.
There's Rick Flagg from Suicide Squad. Then this is Ruben Flagg. So Ruben Flagg, we're going to say it wrong probably, but Ruben Flagg is the main character in this book. And like we said, he is coming to America. Coming to America.
Not Neil Diamond's America, sadly.
And maybe it is. I don't know what Neil Diamond is about. But as we see, he's landing, and it looks like a mega city, and then there's like these hovering satellite dishes that just transmit all this fucking TV all over the place. It's like a weird, really crazy world. Like I said, it's like a mega city, like almost like Judge Dredd, where you have Mega City 1 or whatever. It's a mega city. But the funny thing is, these cities are centered around a mall, a Plex mall they call it, and that's where like the airplane lands, and it's like landing at Plex Mall 1. And like everybody lives in the Plex, and the name of this story arc is called Hard Times. But yeah, so Yeah, like this is very much a commentary on the consumerism, I'll say, for the 80s especially, but has continued since the 80s.
I think we haven't stopped. That's pretty much pretty much is the underlying American way is like consume, like,
yes.
getting.
And then also I love this. You see like, the Magnum 666. It's like it's the best. The Mark of the Beast is the name of the gun. There's like just a billboard for a guy holding a gun, which is funny. It's like he just took like Dirty Harry and was like, that's probably what's going to happen in the future, kind of thing. People are just going to be obsessed with violence so much it's going to be, everybody's going to
need gun.
Also, I really want a Magnum 666. So if Smith and Wesson could make that, that'd be great.
All right, you want to get on that?
Yeah, and call it the Mark of the Beast, please. That would be fantastic. But anyway, so Rick Flagg.
Reuben Flagg.
I'm sorry, Reuben Flagg. I'm gonna call him Rick a couple times, but Reuben Flagg. He's showing up to his where he's gonna be stationed.
Oh, and part of this is that they show TV and whatnot too. Is that Reuben Flagg is actually an actor?
Yes, he is an actor,
and people like they're like we'll see later, like there are billboards and like big standees of him
with his face here
in America.
With his show, he plays a character named Mark Thrust.
Mark Thrust very much felt like a dirty Skinamax movie or something.
Yes,
I don't
know. Yeah, it's kind of like a James Bond villain or something. But like for the ladies are always like Octopussy or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like Mark Thrust. He's gonna thrust justice upon you. But yeah, so he's showing up to like what we find out is like the police.
The Rangers.
Yeah, they're called the Rangers, but they're kind of like the police corps. And we get introduced to the first, like his boss basically, and his boss's name is
Hilton Krieger.
Krieger, that's right. I was like Krieg something.
Krieger. Chief.
Yeah,
because that's what he gets called most of the time.
Yeah, we get introduced to him. We get introduced to his daughter, Mandy, and so Krieger is what's his name? Krieger?
Yeah, Krieger.
Okay, yeah. Krieger's going to pick up. Okay, Chief. Yeah, we'll call him Chief. Chief is going to pick up the new recruit, who is Reuben Flagg, from the airport, and he can just walk up to the. He did not anticipate TCA. I'll say that. That's the one thing he got wrong in this. The one thing, but yeah, like this guy reminded me of the Chief guy. He reminded me of like I don't know, a Joe Don Baker or who like someone like that would play him or something. Like I don't know, just like I don't know. He just seems kind of oafish, but also an asshole.
Yeah,
and I don't know. But he's just not like he's not a fun-loving boss or whatever, But he's going to pick up Reuben Flagg from the airport, and the whole time this is going on, we see something counting down in the background, like this, just a graphic. They don't explain it. Just in the background, we start seeing this countdown, and I was just like, "What the fuck is Go Gang?"
Go Gang.
And then it's like it just says like Go Gang 2652, 2654, 2603. And I'm like, okay, so something's counting down. Something's going to happen. And then this is where we actually meet Reuben Flagg. And we see this is where he's standing in front of like a billboard of him. I don't know if this is actually in the airport. It looks like it is because there's like all these airport like emblems and stuff for like the bathroom and all that shit. But then it's like it's him standing in front of his own poster of Mark Thrust. Sexist Ranger, Sexist Ranger. It's got the male symbol on it, like the prince almost. It's like what the fuck?
It's Austin Powers.
Yeah, exactly. Austin Powers. There you go. So, and this definitely has like this is Howard Chaykin's like macho man. Like this is a man. God damn it.
This is a man.
This is what a hero is. God damn it. None of this weird shit nowadays where I have feelings and what? No, this guy is here to fight. He's here to fuck, and he's here to get down the corruption. He's here to fight evil, but he's also here to fuck women, and he's here to kick some ass when needed. He's got two. He's got two hands. One of them's Jack and one of them's Johnson. God damn it! He's gonna punch you right in the kisser with it. So, yeah. Anyway, So we get introduced to him, and he looks like a 50s reporter or something. I love the way that he draws his character. This is supposed to be the future, and he's got, suspenders on. He's got his pants up to his belly button, like his actual waist or whatever. It's like it just fits totally like his art style. And this is the other thing. The women in this world draw are drawn super provocatively, but they all wear like chokers and like very revealing low cut stuff.
It made me feel like the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh, what?
Well, the Super Mario Brothers movie from the 90s with
maybe I have
Hoskins.
forgotten.
Yeah, like all the ladies in that have like their hair like done up kind of like in a little odd designs,
and their tits are out,
and then they have like usually busts.
Oh, is it like
push-up bras?
This reminded me of Back to the Future 2 with like Marty's mom with Biff or whatever.
Yes, I could see that too.
It's like that. Like, just imagine they're wearing clothes like that, and then like, everybody's got their tits out. Everybody, that's just how they dress now, or whatever. So very provocatively.
The men are wearing suits, and the women are wearing provocative.
And the women are wearing almost BDSM, but close to just like what are those called? Corsets and stuff, and that kind of stuff.
Bustier.
So bustiers. There we go. So I'm fine. I'm on board with this world. All right. I want to look like I'm going to a 50s job, and all the women look like they're going to their sex working job or whatever.
That's ridiculous.
That's what it looks like. But and then this is where we get the countdown finally ends, and we see what happens. Basically, there's
go gang now.
Yeah, go gang now. So there's gangs that have been, I guess, like this is just a thing that happens every day at like 4:00.
Every day at a certain time.
These gangs just attack the city and have to fight the police. So the police are like, well, it's that time of the day. Let's walk to that door where they always come to fight, and then we shoot them, and they shoot us, and we die, and they die, and this is just how it happens. And, Ruben's like, the fuck is going on in this place? Like, why do we put up with this? Like, this seems odd. I'm from Mars. This seems very odd. Why are we just fighting these guys? And it's like, well, that was fun for that hour that it happens every day. And then he gets introduced to Mandy as well here, and it's very obvious that they
have a connection.
They have a connection, and even so much a connection that he gets back to his. I think he gets back to his place that he's staying. And like, welcome home, sir.
Well, the chief like takes him, and he's like, all right, here you go, and he drops him off, and so he goes up into his place,
and then like he sees a woman is sitting in his bed, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I must have the wrong. And she's like, no, you don't have the wrong place.
Have the wrong place, yeah.
And then we look, and this is some girl. I don't know if I guess the guy, the chief, gave him, what we all get when we start a new job. You're welcome to Earth prostitute.
Yeah, and it was the language that he chose to
like the dialogue
to have for her, because it very much felt like a Skinamaxy kind of like almost like the plumber's here to lay pipe or whatever, like kind of that kind of thing, because she's like, oh well, and she like goes down like she's gonna give him a blowjob. She's like, oh yeah, well my mouth is legendary. They call me Jaws 8.
Yes.
And then she's like, they also call me the Widowmaker. So I hope you don't have a wife, and just all this. And
then she says the best thing about this, and this is why I love Howard Chaykin, because she's like, she pulls down his pants, and she's like, I knew no one with a name like Randall Flagg could ever be half-mast. So he's hard or whatever, right? He's like, I'm totally into this. And that's it. Like, he fucks her, and that's like, no problem. Next day. Thanks for that gift, Chief. Like, that would, like, in a normal comic nowadays or something, well, first off, that wouldn't be in there. But if this was maybe 10 years ago, he would definitely be like, he's a hero, right? So he'd be like, no, I can't. This is wrong or whatever. Like, but I just love that he's like, nah, Randall Flagg is, he's into it. Like,
he's ready to go.
He's down to it. He's like, well, I don't know about, I guess this is just an Earth custom.
And although it was like, because the next day he goes to see his chief, and he's like, hey, you're welcome for that present that wasn't there or whatever. And he's like, and if you want to watch it over, don't worry, I taped the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
That was also a little like, Whoa.
No, he taped the whole thing because it's blackmail now or whatever, right? So he's
I
already
didn't think it
setting
was.
up.
Was
I
it
think
blackmail?
he's already setting up that he's
I
got
didn't take it
blackmail.
as blackmail. I just thought it was like him being a pervert.
No, I think it was him straight up being like, "Hey, I have video of you fucking a prostitute, and you're a cop.
Okay.
You're not supposed to be doing that." So that's a little leverage over you that I have now. Just
Okay,
to
that
show
makes
you,
sense too.
Just to show you, I'm not on your side. All right, like I'm your asshole cop boss. That's a real asshole. So
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense too.
yeah, and then so the next day he actually meets the mayor of the Plex, whose name is C.K. Blitz. So he's a mayor or he's the mayor of Chicago, I guess, but that's part of this whole mall thing because he seems to be very influential in this whole Plex mall thing as well. And he's doing like a TV show or whatever, and then that's where he meets him. And then we see he's got. I thought this was fun. This because he's mayor, he's got security, but the security guards he calls them Bert and Ernie, but they're like these two robots that are like these. They look like space heaters almost, like what you have outside those propane space heaters, but they're just like, I guess, kill robots that will protect you. So, basically, he meets the mayor, and then he meets some other people here. And there's a woman who's like, oh, that is, the mayor, and explains everything to him about like what Bert and Ernie are and all that stuff. And then he meets this cat named Raoul who can talk, which is fun.
He just happens to be a talking cat.
A talking cat. Why not?
The cat has a relationship with the chief too, like not like a pet relationship, but just like he works with the chief sometimes, I guess, on some things.
Yeah,
it's interesting. The cat I didn't quite understand, other than like it was like a. It popped up in the story when needed, but I didn't.
Yeah, he's kind of like the do ex machina or whatever, or the Deus ex machina.
Oh yeah,
for this story a little bit, but you don't know that until the end, or he's just like a fun traveler or whatever. But yeah, like he's everywhere with the chief. So Raoul is the chief's cat, which makes him like know everything that's going on. He's got his ear to the ground for everything. And then also, we see like Mandy also talks to Ruben, and you get like, oh, maybe she's kind of sweet on him a little bit. Yeah, we're not sure, but she might be into him a little bit. So, and then like the chief and Ruben go on like a patrol, I guess you'll say. They're like, hey, we get, why don't you fly me this thing in this like this gunship that we have, and you can see kind of what America's like or whatever as they fly over these areas, and this is where we see like how shitty the rest of the cities are and stuff.
Yeah,
or parts of the city are where
it's like buildings falling down.
Yeah, just like getting torn apart. Like there's all these different gangs. Like he's like there's like these crazy like Christian ones, and then there's like the IRA, and then there's like the Britain separatists, and then there's like the African pan nationalists, and then there's like there's just all these different like gangs all over the fucking place.
And there's a TV channel where they're showing all this stuff. Where they show
all of it, yes. Of
course.
That's
the one thing that keeps like every time there's like a new event happening, they're like, also it's on TV right now.
Yes.
It's being recorded.
Yes, it's fantastic. And like like there's just all this crazy shit that he's seeing like all day long every day. So we get like he starts a little journal entry at this point in the comic in the first issue where it says like kind of gives a little history of how he's feeling and where he was before and all this stuff. So it just says like, so begins like my first week of my 5-year tour of duty. So then we kind of find out like, oh, he's definitely been drafted. It's not like his choice to be in like these Rangers, but that's how they get him now. I guess kind of like military, but it's like police military. Yeah. So, and then he says, and then the first week is basically a week of unending banality, of mind-numbing vulgarity, punctuated by frequent outbursts of senseless violence. And then we see like, like every TV screen is like white sluts. Thrilled, thrills, chills, pills. Like it's like that's the TV, and then there's like Code Red, rape in progress, sperm banks at level 7 or whatever, animal mutilation reported at Royal Oak Farm, and then like just all this shit's going on, and he's having to like,
the
deal with
USA
all
has
this.
gone crazy. He's been on Mars. Everything's been kind of kosher. And now he's down here, and it's like, what the hell?
Right. This is where he says, like, in Mars, we're like, America the beautiful. Like, and over here, it's just like, oh, fuck this
Place has
place.
gone to hell.
Yeah. And then, we basically see the year that everything went to hell was 1996. And
Sounds about right.
yeah, when Bob Dole did not win, that's what happened,
Kang and Kodos came down.
There you go. So basically we see what happened in 1996. There's a president named President Silver who got into office, and we see there's East Coast meltdown, massive crop failure, USSR collapses, and Islamic insurrection. Food riots shake the Western Europe. Asia assaulted by Black Plague. International banking system collapses. Iran-Israel nuke exchange. Germany reunited. Nukes London. California sinks. Plague spread. And that's why they had the relocation to Mars.
Does any of this sound like what's happening is what we're trying to say? No.
Some of it maybe. Some of it hasn't happened yet. But like I said, he was about 30 years off.
30 years off. But seriously, it's just like, it's wild. The amount of stuff like they didn't realize was going on down there. And
in the meantime, all these corporations have kind of taken hold of the government. That's why it's like Plex USA. Or it says Plex USA, then it says Plex US, then it says Plex. Like basically the US has now become Plex. And Plex is all these corporations. There's the head of this place called the Hammarskjöld Center, and then there's Gagaringrad, which is like so basically the Hammarskjöld Center owns Mars. The Gagaringrad is Luna, which is the moon, and then Earth is just Plex. Like it is just owned by Plex. And so that's what it is now. And so now that he's realizing this, he says he's going through like existential despair as he's realizing like this is not what I thought it was going to be. And then as he's sitting down, he's not drinking. I think he's just like talking to himself in like a recorder, like cause instead of diarying, like writing down, he's just talking to a recorder. And then this guy named Cyril walks up and is like, "Hey, I got a proposition for you. Like your predecessor and me had an arrangement. Like, how about, he paid me a grand a week, and then I would shoot high when we go crazy." And it turns out Cyril is part of one of those gangs that goes crazy every day. So the deal was, I won't really shoot at you, but I'll show I'm going crazy, and I'll just pay you or you have to pay me $1,000 a month or a day. Is it a month or a day? A week. Grand a week in order for me to shoot high to not hurt you. And he's so like downtrodden and everything that like he's like, "Oh, I get it, a bribe." He's like, "That would be the status quo down here." And then the guy just lets the guy walk away, and he's like, "Well, let me know what you decide," kind of thing. Yeah, what you think about. And then it's like later on that evening, and this is where like the story starts to really come together. He's watching TV that night, and he's talking to Mandy, the chief's daughter. And they're just talking about like, "Oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be," and blah, blah, blah. And then we see some, like on the TV, there's like a show called Bob Violence. And it's brought to you by, Jerry Rig Custom Firearms, of course. And in the middle of all this show, Bob Violence, it says he starts seeing flashes of words, like subliminal messages on the screen. One of them says rape. One of them says kill, death, sex, mutilate, all these things, just all over the place on this show. And the show is like it's not like a kid's show, but it's like, it seems like it's kind of just like, it's just people running around shooting stuff and it's war or whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of like what's going on outside normally.
Right, but like a caricature of that or whatever. So, and then he's like, "Holy shit, like this this is what's going on. Like, this show comes on exactly like 2 hours or an hour or whatever before the mutants, or not the mutants, the gang.
The gang.
They call them. One of them calls themselves the mutants, and one of them I can't remember what the other one calls themselves. But they fight before they go crazy and start fighting every night. And so he runs to Krieger and he's like, Krieger, I figured it out. They're packed with subliminals. And they're like, what are you talking about? We don't see anything. So it turns out the reason no one else on Earth can see any of these subliminal messages except the cat, Raoul, we find out, and Randall Flagg. And the reason why Randall Flagg can is because he was born on Mars.
Yeah.
He's from Mars. He doesn't have this conditioning in his system or whatever, to have been so he can't see it.
He sees things slower.
He puts these sunglasses on, and all of a sudden he can see the words "obey" on all the signs. But yeah, so this is where I was like, oh, this is like total They Live style.
Yeah.
Like, he sees it, no one else does, except his cat. And the cat's like, well, I tell people, but they thought I was crazy or some shit, so I just kept it quiet. And so then we see like the program ends because he's telling the chief, hey, look, watch what's going to happen. This show's going to end, and then all of a sudden the countdown starts, and it's like, go gang, 44:11, 44 or 43:59, 43:58 or whatever. So starts counting down, and then of course, that counts down all the way, and it happens again. Everybody shoots everybody, and or shoots at everybody, and then except this time, Cyril, the guy that tried to pay off Reuben Flagg, he's driving, he's shooting, and he's missing him on purpose, I think, but he hasn't been paid his $1,000 a week yet.
Yeah.
So, but Reuben's like, fuck this, and he just takes like a bulletproof shield, and he like hits him off his bike, gets him down, and then they like arrest him. So I thought this was funny. There's just like a robot that goes around telling you you're already in prison, but it's flying around, and it's called Miranda. So it's telling you it's just letting you know after you're already arrested and in prison, in jail, your Miranda rights, what you were being charged with. It's just a nice, fun, bypass for rights. Who needs them? And so,
let the robot take care of it.
Yeah, I just thought that was funny. It literally says Miranda on it. I just thought that was cute that they. It's one of those clever things I like about this. And so this was like the first time anybody had tried to, I guess, arrest these mutants and stuff. So it's kind of like a weird thing. But that guy gets off. That was Cyril, the gang member. He gets off on bail or whatever, and then like basically everybody now knows this is a thing that's happening with these messages, and so they're gonna believe Randall Flagg that this is happening, and they're gonna do something about it. So they're gonna
preempt.
Yeah, they're gonna preemptively like fuck with the program, so block these signals if they are there or whatever. And Krieger does not agree. He's like, what the fuck? Like, this is not how it works. One, you went over my head. So he got, what really pisses him off is Reuben got Mandy, the Krieger's daughter, who's apparently she's really good with electronics or some shit, but she builds like a disruptor. They have to fly to like with the satellites. And I guess like there's just one that's specifically for this area that does the mutants or does the gang members. So, they just have to put this disruptor in there, and the fucking Krieger is pissed off because it's his daughter working with Randall Flagg and going above his head and all this shit. So, but it's like the only way you can really get it done, because Krieger was like, no, I don't want to do it. And he's like, well, I'm going to do it anyway. So he does this whole daring, going to the satellite, sliding down this pole, just hanging from it and like way high up in the air. And it's kind of cool. It kind of reminded me of like, what was that, Star Trek? Isn't there a scene in Star Trek?
First Contact? Yeah, where they...
No, not First Contact. Well, maybe First Contact too, but the one where they It's the newer one, the J.J. Abrams one, where they're like,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
from the first one, Star Trek. Yeah, where
Yes.
they go down on the mining tool. Yeah.
yes, it's like that kind of. But then, so they do that, and then Krieger's like, it doesn't matter. This isn't going to stop anything. Well, I'll show you. And so, like the first night that all of this is supposed to happen again, since Krieger's like, I'll show you. Like it ain't going to do anything. And then they get locked and loaded for the gangsters to come, and they're sitting there and they're waiting, and all of a sudden it's an hour past, and they're like, where are they? It's like, they'll be here. Krieger's like not backing down, and then it turns out no, he was right, and everybody's like, let's celebrate. You did it right.
Party.
Yeah, party. We stopped this thing that has been killing us and menacing everybody for all these years, and so like drinks on the house. So they're all partying at this club or whatever called Vice, and like we said, Krieger is not happy about this, and then Mandy, who's like, yeah, we did it together. I'm kind of sweet on you, but then she turns around and fucking Ruben is making out with the I guess it's the prostitute from
before, Gretchen.
From before. Gretchen is her name, and the funny thing is, Chief was like, don't worry about it. We don't got nothing to do tomorrow. And then he's like actually got it planned that he's going to wake up Flagg like right early in the morning to get him to do a job, but he doesn't know that. So it's like him fucking with him.
Yeah.
And he's like, why don't you have a bunch of drinks, go crazy. You earned it, buddy. And then he's like, wow, he's nicer than usual. And so Flagg goes and, it says later, much later. It's like 5:58, 5:59. He's with Gretchen. She's like, why don't you just wait out here while I get ready? And then it's like 6 o'clock, 6:05, 6:10, 6:20. And he's like,
What's taking her so long?
Yeah, where is she? And then he like goes in the room, and then she's like passed out in a sex swing.
Yeah.
And she's just like not, it's too late for her. So he's like, oh, well, whatever. I'll just go home. So he goes to bed. So it must be like, what, 6:37? I don't know. It says he gets there 30 seconds later from some like future travel thing they can do, future Uber. And so like he says it's the new motivator. I don't know. Some weird, it says new, so it's like pneumatic or something. I don't know what the fuck it is.
Some future.
Oh, one other thing I liked in this is anytime there was some future tech or even almost tech future, whatever, he would put a TM like trademarked next to it, which just made everything in this world is corporate or like, for money. It's all about money.
It's all been designed.
Everything's been trademarked. Even,
corporate.
Everything's corporate. Even the stuff that he's talking about all has to have a TM in the dialogue in everything.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a fun little thing that would like always catch my eye as like, oh, this is like, that's part of this world. So he's about to fall asleep. He's like, man, now it's a crazy night. Krieger, maybe he's not such a bad guy. And then right when he thinks that, Krieger comes up on his TV. He's like, hey, rise and shine, Flagg. I got something special for you. You have to be the bodyguard for Mayor Blitz today. So you better be there in an hour. And he's like, motherfucker. So now he's got to be the driver for the mayor. And this is funny. The mayor and him, they're getting along or whatever. They're fine. But then like people try to attack the mayor's limo, and the mayor's like, oh, I knew. I'm happy I put in that crazy like hyperdrive system or whatever. And he like, get out of the way, Flagg, let me drive. And he like runs a car off the road and like, I guess murders them.
Kills them, yeah.
And he's like, oh, it's that. But before he kills him, he's like, oh, I know who it is. It's that McAfee. He's trying to get me out of the race, the mayoral race. So like he's been itching for my job for years, and so he runs him off the road. And he's like, well, I guess he won't be in that race, huh? But against me because I just murdered him. Like it's just like, and he's like, we'll just say it was self-defense. Like you were here, you saw him. He tried to kill me first or whatever. So you just get to see like what this world and the corruption in this world is like. And so basically where they're going is a wedding, and the mayor is going to this wedding. And the reason why he needed Flagg to take him there is because his robots are not allowed in this wedding because it's a Jewish wedding. Apparently, it's against the Jewish religion to have robots. So, they do not allow him. So that's why he's here. And then the funny thing was in this, the mayor's talking to everybody, and he goes off talking to people, but Flagg is like talking to the bride's sister. And he's like, "Oh, hello, call me Ruben." She's like, "Oh, I just adore you as Mark Thrust." And he's like, "Oh, do you?" And so basically, she's like, "Oh, are you Jewish?" He's like, "Oh, I am actually." And she's like, "Oh, would you mind coming to the ladies' room with me?" And so they go down there to fuck basically, but I don't think they get to it.
I don't think so, but it definitely because they go to and the door closes and you see like you're talking, and then the middle like words of like onomatopoeia almost look like that bow chicka wow wow.
Oh yes.
I thought that was fun.
Yeah, it is, but I think it's actually gunshots because in the middle of this, what they're doing, gunshots start happening. People's trying to kill other people's, and we find out this was funny. I thought they were like, "Who is it? Nazis?" And they're like. They don't look like Arabs either because it's a Jewish wedding. So he's like, who would be killing these Jews? And he's like, no, they're Shabbos goys. They're hired guns from the military or from the militant Hasidim, I guess. So it's like the Hasidic Jews, like the super Hasidic Jews are now like their own sect of like terrorist whatever. And they'll like even terrorize the less like stringent Jews. And so they're like, they oppose all interracial marriage or intermarriage, they say. So I don't know if it was, I guess she was marrying someone who wasn't Jewish. So they were like, it's a terrorist attack for that or whatever. So, so it's just one of these, they're like, he converted, but it wasn't good enough for them or whatever. So it's just one of these like interesting things about this world. Like everybody's just ready to fucking kill for anything.
Yeah. There's a gun, there's literally a gunfight every day.
Yeah, literally. And so, everybody's fighting, and he's, obviously he's got to get the mayor out of there. So he gets the mayor out of there, and they're just getting out of town, and that's pretty much it. Like, oh wow, that was a crazy day. Like we got back, whoo, that was some wedding, and so basically, this is where. We just meet some like other people, in this world.
Yeah, we just kind of see the more like kind of inner workings. Like there's more
dignitaries that the mayor is meeting.
There's like they're like the top of like the union of like the one guy.
It's Brazil.
It's
Brazilian,
basically.
Yeah. So in this world, Brazil and Africa are part of like two giant global countries now, like unions now. So like there's like the Pan Africa conglomeration or whatever, and then there's like the Brazilians who own all of South America now or whatever. So like they're like way more influential. It says the Brazilian Union of Americas is like what they're called. So,
yeah.
Basically Brazil has taken over everything. So, it's just like a crazy like. Just showing you like how crazy like these different interweavings and they're meeting the mayor of this place, and I wonder what's going on with that kind of politically. They're probably setting up stuff in later arcs.
Oh yeah. Sure.
So and then but also who we get to meet is the mayor's daughter. We get to meet the mayor's daughter. Her name is Media, or I thought maybe it was Medea, but then her last name is Blitz because she's the mayor's daughter. So there's no way it's not Media.
It's not
Blitz.
Media Blitz, exactly.
It's got to be Media. So,
and he also meets someone named Crystal.
Yeah, and she's like another officer, I guess, or something. She's in some other kind of service work or whatever. I don't know if she's actually like in his, like if she's a ranger or if she's like, I guess it would be the Air Force or something. I don't know. She's in some other kind of military, I think. So, but it turns out that Media is dating Cyril, and she is, I guess, mad at Flagg for arresting Cyril. So she beats the fuck.
Man,
She
Molly
punches.
Wops
She punches Flagg and like totally knocks him on his ass. And he's like, "What the fuck?" And then it's funny because as he's knocked out from that, the dignitaries of Brazil just kind of walk over there. I'm like, "Look at this trash. It's true what they say. All these media types are junkies and drug addicts and stuff or whatever because they think he's like on heroin or some shit." But yeah, like then this is the first time we meet this person who's actually really important. Like Crystal's trying to wake him up, like, "Hey, get up, man! You know we gotta get back to work." And then she meets. They all meet this guy who's selling like Soviet jewelry, which is weird.
It's weird, yeah.
It's a very weird concept. It's a hammer sickle that's 24 karat gold. It's made of diamonds, but it's the Lenin. You know, it's the
I got what you need, man.
The star of Lenin or whatever.
Gold.
Yeah.
Sickle.
It's weird. But yeah, so he's selling stuff kind of like he's got like that jacket, like, "Hey man, you want it?" Like,
yeah, if you would open the jacket and you could see like 20 gold watches hanging
there. Yeah, you wouldn't be surprised or whatever. So, but this dude's name is Shishkov.
John, like
Shishkov.
Shishkov.
It's a lot of letters in there. So,
consonant.
That's the best. I'm gonna call him Shiza. But Shishkov, he this is like the whole thing. I did not think this guy was important at all.
Yeah,
I was just like, they sure do throw him in here a lot. And then he ended up being really important. I'm like, oh, I did not see that coming out of anywhere. But yeah, so basically, then like it's just we just get like, oh, the next couple days, we're seeing like, oh, what his life is like. He's trying to figure out everything going on, like how much the corruption in this city is. Why is Soviet jewelry a thing? You know, like. He's so like, and he's disgusted about the Soviet jewelry because he's like, fucking commies.
Yeah.
Like because he was from Mars, and when you're from Mars,
they're America.
These goddamn commies.
Yeah.
So he's like a Red Scare, American from the 50s or some shit. Like he is not cool with Soviet jewelry, and why anyone would want to wear them is beyond him. So yeah, basically, he gets sent on another like mission from Krieger.
He's gonna go to a farm this time out in like a country
Krieger,
area.
Like basically, like this is funny. Like you see Crystal making a plan with him, like to go out to eat. It's like almost time for his shift to end, and like Krieger's in the office while he's making this call, and then Krieger's like, "Hey, why don't you do this last thing? There's a farm about an hour away that had some animal mutilators. I need you to hit that right before you get off the clock." And he's like, "You just heard me make dinner date." He's like, "Well, that sounds like you should hop to it, if you need to get done fast or whatever." So he has to go to like this like farm, and we just see like exactly what's going on here. Like just, I don't know. This place is full of, it's getting attacked by these, I don't know what they're called. They're,
they have another type of gang.
They're not a gang though. They're like some kind of like terrorist organization. They're more than a gang, but they're the weird because basically they attack this farm for some reason. I don't fucking know why. It's just because, I guess the farm is probably an important hit, right? Because it's the food for the city. And Flagg has to kill these people, and it turns out that they're kids. And one of them actually turned on the other kid because they're like, "Oh, we're gonna get arrested by Flagg," and they shoot the other kid. And then they're like, I guess Flagg punches that one that shot the other one, and turns out it's a girl, and she had like a cyanide tooth. So it's like, and he broke it, so she dies anyway.
Yeah.
And so it was like, what the fuck? And then it turns out that they're both like kids, like 13-year-old kids, and they have what's written on their face? Something ASLC.
ASLC, yeah. And this is where we also learn apparently nobody has seen children in
like 20 years.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh my God, she's so young. How is that possible? No one's given birth in this area." They say, I don't know if that means Earth or the Plex or this farm region or whatever, but no one has given birth to children in a long time. And they take it like it's a good thing. Like, yeah, man, that means we can fuck all we want. Like, that like it's weird how they didn't really give a fuck about it. But yeah, so then he actually makes it home in time for his dinner date with Crystal.
So he's efficient, is what we're trying to say.
Yeah, basically he is DTF so much that he's like willing to. He gets done. He's like, all right, no worries. And then he actually asks Crystal, like, hey, do you know what ASLC is? And she's like, no, I don't know what that is. No one seems to know what really it is. And I don't know. They don't really talk about. They don't solve that mystery, do they?
Yeah, no, they say what it is later.
They say what it is, but they. What is it? Or do you?
I have it. I was just looking for because it's not till like much later.
Okay, we'll figure it out there. But I know they talk about what it is, but they don't solve like why the kids were there or whatever.
Oh yeah, we still don't know that.
Yeah, we still don't know that. I think that's a later on. He's setting up a lot of story points that are going to be hit later on in this series or whatever. So then we figure out they're like, I think we already said, but like sports are illegal in this thing, like basketball especially, and the basketball they're showing is not basketball.
That's called b-ball.
Well, yes, it's b-ball, and it's like they say basketball a couple times, like actually but it's not. Yeah. They're not playing with their hands. It looks like they're kicking with their feet, but they also have armor and weapons on and shit. So it's like football / like American football / basketball / American Gladiators. So all that together. And he's like, really? Illegal sports? Should we watch this? And she's like, it's not about watching the sports. We're just trying to, I guess, kill the sound or whatever. And then I thought this was funny. She's like, pulling off her clothes. And he's like, no problem. And then fucking the cat comes up and he's like, Ruben, I need to tell you something. And he's like, Raul.
Not right now.
I'm busy. You see, there's tits in my face. Like, I can't talk right now. Blood leaving head. Can't have sentences. And
Ruben.
Yeah, and he's like, God damn it, cat, shut the fuck up. And she's like doing a strip dance and all this shit for him. And he's like, son of a bitch. And so then finally...
he's like, you need to come see Kruger. And he's like, well, tell Kruger to shove it. He's like,
I can't. Yeah. And then it's like, what? And then we find out Kruger has been murdered. Krieger, whatever his name is. Krieger has been murdered. So they drive to his place and they see he's been shot in the face. And so they actually think the people who did it, because he has someone's hair in his hand, and we know what hair that is. It's actually the mayor's daughter's hair. So that would lead everybody to think that the mayor's daughter and Cyril, her boyfriend, probably shot Krieger in the face.
And the mayor believes it right away too. Like he happens there, and he's like, "Put it on APB on my daughter."
Yeah, he is not a dad who stands behind his daughter no matter what. But yeah, so then we get like, then it's like a whodunit. This is where like the story really kicks off. Like we got the whole like, oh, there's corruption, and then we got the whole there's like subliminal messages and stuff like that. And then now we get like a murder that's happened. So whodunit kind of thing. And, everybody's sad, around. They're all like, who the fuck could have done this other than them? So they're looking for his daughter and all that, or, the mayor's daughter and everybody. And then this was the funniest fucking part. So
this panel really caught me off guard.
So yeah, the Mandy, who is Krieger's daughter, is now part of this investigation because she wants to find her dad's killer, and so she's like, "I will go with you, Flagg, and we will, go to this place or whatever." So they start driving, and this was funny, I thought too. They're talking about she's going to get info from some guy, and she's telling him like, "Oh, like I will get you." Copies of this episode of the Twilight Zone and this, and he's like, okay, cool. Like, I need 5 episodes of the Twilight Zone to give you this info. So like, they're trading in like old media that's like illegal now or whatever, which I thought was fun. But yeah, so then she says at the end of this conversation, she's like, thanks, Bill. I knew I could count on you. We'll see you in about 3 hours. And then like, Flagg's like 3 hours. It's less than 20 minutes, and then you see all these onomatopoeias coming down the page that say "zip," and then it's like not the route I've planned. And then you go to the next page because it's a page turn, and she's fucking spread eagle in the car,
In lingerie.
in her lingerie, just like, fuck me now. And the best thing is, he just
This is the best panel.
U-turns it.
She's like, you need to go here, and like there's a bridge or whatever that's gonna like basically make
50 yards away.
Yeah, and the next panel is squeeze.
Yeah, like,
the car just turning.
We were hot on the trail of her dad just being murdered, but hold on, gotta get my nut. And so like, like they both are very, very.
And well, it's also like, so they go to the back of the car, and like I guess this car is like a little bit like elongated, and
Yeah, it's kind of like a limousine. I guess.
And she's like, and there's a bed in the back, and she's like, oh man, this is the same bed I lost my virginity on 14 years ago. It's like served me well, and it's like, goodness gracious.
This is her GTF bed or whatever. So, and she's basically like, I've wanted you since the moment I laid eyes on you, or laid eyes on you. And so then there's like, they have very passionate sex. There's even like a lightning scene. It was like kaboom at the end of the.
That was perfect. They have like these panels, and like they just barely kind of show like they're obviously having.
Although
sex.
it's fairly graphic, like it shows them like it's just stuff you would not see in any other comic.
No, that's true. You can tell kind of like what they're doing, but it's not graphically showing you like.
No,
DNA
but the positioning of everything is very.
Panel,
it is as much as you can show without showing
the actual
nudity.
act.
Yeah.
But then, the end of it is like the storm happening and like lightning going. It's just kaboom.
Yeah.
Like,
so you know, and boom goes the dynamite. And so, then it's like just about 3 hours later. so they're all happy, smiles and everything, and they're meeting whoever this guy that's going to give them information, and so they meet him, and basically he gives the information on like who the people were that the kids that he killed or whatever, and it says the name of it stands for, or the ASLC stands for the American Survivalist Labor Committee. They grew out of a reactionary wing of the Democratic Party, strange eccentric politics, pro-nuke, anti-Semitic, anti-Italian, anti-British.
I just all over the place.
Yeah, I mean. Some of that makes sense, right?
The future's crazy.
Yeah, the future is crazy. So this is 2030, everybody. This is 9 years from now.
Yeah, we're almost here.
Yeah. So and you know what? I don't doubt it. Looking at politics and everything nowadays, well, that's definitely what's going to happen. So, yeah. So they talk to this guy. They get some information.
Oh, and this is kind of where we start to learn a little bit more too. So like. They get that information, and then they go to back to her dad's place, right?
Yes. And it turns out, well, they go back to his dad's place, and then we also see that Cyril and media are on the run, because they know, oh shit, we like they're after us, kind of thing. And as they go back, as Flagg are going back to their place, they actually like, oh wait, there they are, and they see them. And so then they have a big car chase where they're, chasing Cyril on his bike with media, and they're chasing. Then it's fun when we say limousine. This limousine does not look like a normal limousine. It has tank treads in the back of it. So the last half of it is like tank treads. And the front has wheels. And it looks like a fucking. I don't want to say Nazi limo, but it looks like, it definitely has like that like old school V18 long extended front as well, to pull this thing car or whatever. So they go after Cyril and media, and they actually are able to get them and like take them down. And so they take them down. They don't kill them though. They just, knock them out and everything. And then we find out basically like the history, or we find out that what was going on is it wasn't them. They are not the ones who killed Mandy's dad, because they don't have anything on them. They don't have anything other than just like her hair seemed to be pulled out or whatever, and but that was the only evidence on them. So but they were looking for a keepsake. Mandy kept saying, I need to find this keepsake. And then also like it's of super sentimental value. He's like, what is this keepsake? He's like, I can't tell you. And then so the cat Raoul is like, hey Ruben, psst, I have it. I have one in my collar. And so basically we find out that Raoul, being like, Krieger's confidant cat, has a key, and there was also a key on himself too. So someone did steal the key and then killed him, but the cat also has a key. So the cat is like, I'll take you to where this place is. So they go, and then no one knows what is this place. Why does Krieger have this? Why does Mandy want it?
Yeah.
What are these? And also Mandy wants it, but also I think media wanted it too. That's why they were there as well. They were like, we want whatever you're doing. So this is like a big secret, right? So he gets into this place, and what it is, it turns out he is the fucking like the guy who's putting out all these illegal games and TV and everything on. So I don't know if we mentioned this earlier as much. We did say there was illegal sports playing, but someone is like pirate radio, but like with TV signals, and they're putting out like, Friends and shit like that, like weird shit, sitcoms and stuff that you're not supposed
Things
to
are
see,
supposed to be
not approved by the government, right? And so they're putting out all these feeds that people can pick up, and it will unprogram them from the government's programming kind of thing. And it turns out that and this was the most prophetic thing I've ever seen in my life. The name of he's like, oh my God, we're standing in the automated broadcast studio of Station Q USA. This motherfucker is QAnon, all right?
We found Q.
Yeah, we found the original Q, and it is in this book. He called it 30, 40 years or whatever before he fucking called it, all right? So I was blown away when I saw that this dude's name was Q. And so, I thought that was funny. But yeah, basically, this is where all that TV pirating is from. And Krieger, his hard-assness was actually a cover, because he was the most like he's fighting the government, but he looked like he was part of the government. He couldn't get too crazy or whatever, but he would do what he could, kind of thing. So, which makes Reuben Flagg like have a lot of respect for him now, because he's like, oh shit, like
damn,
like this guy had a lot of balls or whatever. So then we get this whole history.
We learned crazy
lot of history. So, and I'm not sure exactly what some of this has to do with this story arc, which I don't think it does. I think it's in future story arcs where some of this comes in. But basically, we learn that Krieger, he like right when Reuben sits down, like a video will starts like, if you're listening to this, I'm dead. He's like drinking scotch or whatever. And he's like, now you know that I'm the Q pirate radio guy or whatever. So. And he's like, all right, let me give you some history. He's like, me and CK, the mayor, we used to be part of the Warlords gang. We were the ones who actually formed it back in the day, and it was all about women and fucking and fighting and all that. And then just a couple of punks. Then we got drafted into the Rangers, and then we just thought it was funny, but then we actually ended up liking it. I met my wife, fell in love, turned straight, like went away from my, gang days or whatever. And then, CK, he became the mayor. Everything was great. Then I had to go to war and left. Then when I came back, my wife had a black child. And I was like, CK, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, so Mandy and Media are half-sisters.
Yeah. Mandy is his first child. Or it's actually Krieger and his wife's child. And then her second child, his wife's second child, was with CK, and that is Media. That's why Media has blonde hair. I don't know if we said that. Media has blonde hair in this. So he's like, what the fuck? So, and it just it didn't go well for him after that. He kind of got pissed off at everything going on with the government and the corruption. And also CK, he's just corrupt. Like, he's not really like part of it, at least for now in this storyline. He is not like a good person. He's just a corrupt politician. So and like he would say like, oh, basically Mandy was always a reminder of his fucking wife because she looked exactly like her. So while he loved her, he was still like, God damn it, you remind me of my wife. And so, yeah, like that's gonna be somewhat painful or whatever. And then media just remind him also, like, oh yeah, that's that's my half daughter who is from my best friend who fucked my wife. That's good. That's always good to remember. And so,
So he's also got a reason to be the way he is too. Then,
yeah. So definitely that kind of makes you more sympathetic to him and whatnot. And so, yeah, that's why he kind of started this whole thing. That was what led him to look. This is all bullshit. I'm making this this pirate radio, and I'm going to show you all this crazy shit that the government won't let you see. And the Plex is bad, and yeah, and he's like, watch out. He's like, you'll be working with CK, but he is smarter than you, so watch out. And he says, watch out for my daughter. She's got a great set, but she's poisoned. So, like, she's going to try to seduce you, basically.
yeah.
And, like, the reason why he's telling him to watch out is because he knows both of them want his media thing. If they control the pirate radio or the pirate TV, they can, especially CK could change, politics for him and all this stuff, overthrow shit. So, kind of like nowadays.
Well, the other big thing underneath all this that I thought was really interesting too is they talk also about Plex, obviously controlling everything and like basically bleeding the country of money, and then there's a tricentennial going on. They're
yes.
coming up to America's 300th birthday, and they're going to use this event. So kind of what they're also leading up to. They're going to use this event to like make like a big withdrawal basically of a lot of last America's reserves or whatnot.
Yes.
And we also learned that part of the reason the kids were important, we hadn't seen kids in a while, is that there was an involuntary sterilization act of 2010.
Right. That was called Manicillin or whatever, or Mananacillin. I guess.
Yeah.
And it's like it sounds like penicillin, right? But it's literally like it kills all venereal disease and babies. You're not allowed to have babies anymore. It aborts all babies or whatever. So, and it just makes you sterile. And so, yeah, they did that, and that was what the government did. It's good government. They care about you. But then in the middle of this,
just as he's learning all of this,
he's watching the TV. He's not paying attention enough because what happens is someone shoots, gets out of the corner. He's like, "Hey, son of a bitch, I'm here to kill you. I'm a spy." And then who is it? It's fucking guy with the coat selling jewelry, selling that Soviet commie jewelry.
John Shizov. How do we say his name?
Skyzov. I don't know. And so he's Shizkov. Yeah, we'll say that. Shizkov. John Skyzkov. He works for the PIA, the Plex intelligence agency. And he like it's funny because
I've been undercover this whole time.
He's like, he's like, well, when did you come here? He's like, actually, what's funny? It started when you undercut the Bob Violence stuff. Like when you outed that and stopped all that violence that was supposed to happen, that was planned. Like we want that shit to happen every day because we need you all distracted. You got, we need you to think you need us, basically, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And this is how we keep people in check. You can't do this. And so, like, he's about to. And then it shows like, oh, what happened? He confronted Krieger, and actually, he was the one who shot Krieger in the face after he gave him a little bit of information, not what he actually wanted, but yeah, like he thought he was going to try to bribe him, and then he shot him in the face. So, and then while he's telling him this, because it's the whole like, and now I'm telling
you my whole plan.
Yeah, now I'm gonna kill you. All of a sudden, I thought this was funny. The cat Raoul comes up behind him and is like, "Surprise, chump! Stick him up!" And he just puts his little cat paw on his back, and the guy's like, "Oh shit!" And he's like, "Oh what?" And like that just distracts him enough so that Flagg can fight him, and then so they get in their tough guy fight. And I thought this was cool that he wasn't actually a pushover. Like this was a real fight.
Yeah, and this seemed like like the fight in.
I definitely felt the end of this fight. Like, this felt like the They Live fight scene where they like kept fighting for a while, and a lot of shit's happening, and they're both getting the one up on each other every now and then. But finally, because this dude's like a spy, like he's trained CIA, basically, like government spy or whatever. And Rick Flagg is an actor who played Mark Thrust. So I'm just gonna throw that out there that he might have some basic training, but he's just got Jack and Johnson, and that's usually what gets him through. So, but at the end of it, something happens. He says he's going to beat him to death, is what the CIA guy or the PIA guy says to him, and that triggers a reaction, a very strong reaction, because he's scared. Like Ruben is scared, and so he's like, "Fuck that." And he grabs a chair, and I assume this chair is made out of titanium or something, because he he hits the dude, he hits John Skykoff or whatever in the face, and he's like, "Beat me to death, I'm gonna beat you to death." He just literally beats the man to death, at first with a chair, and then with his fists, until there's nothing there but the guy's face.
Like ground beef, basically.
Yeah. He's pulp. There's some pulp.
Yeah, I love that he stops basically his roles like, "Hey, I think you got him."
Yeah.
Like, I think the chair was actually what got him.
Yeah, that was like the chair got him, not my fist or whatever. So, they kill that guy, and then he comes home and he's like, "Hey, I found those things you were looking for, and they're to the Q station, Mandy, and you're not getting them, even no matter how much you try to seduce me with your tits." And so he like straight up tells her that, and then they're like, "Okay, well, this whole thing goes much deeper into the government, so are you joining me or not?" And he's like, "Yes," or she's like, "Yes, I'm on your side." So it seems like she's not really bad. I don't know why the dad didn't want her to have access to it, but
at least not now.
Maybe she's got some ulterior motives or something.
We also see the Go Gang countdown start again too.
Yes. So maybe it was blocked, and now the government has unblocked it or figured out how to unblock it or whatever. So or maybe the Go Gang just keeps counting down, but it doesn't mean. Oh no, they actually get their guns out and they go to like continue they go out to fight them. Yeah. So, it's weird. They just I guess go back to normal because this is why. I know why. Because he has to pretend now, just like the dad did.
Yeah, that's right.
He's got to keep up the masquerade of, no, I'm one of you guys. So he's got to keep it going, even though he's gonna now. He's like, I'm gonna do what your dad was doing, but also add a little bit of that Reuben Flagg flair and whatever that means, tits probably. And so So that's like how it ends.
While banging his daughter.
Yeah, well, while banging in memory of your dad, I'm gonna fuck you tonight. And so that's where we leave off. He goes to fight the motorcycle gangs, keep up the face of the good
Plex Rangers,
the good soldier, the good Plex Rangers. So that is American Flag, sir. What did you think about that?
It was I definitely, like you said, as we talked about, I always saw all the references as far as like things that were probably pulled from this being one of kind of a first of its kind, and the story was fun. It had a lot of like page turners where it was like, whoa, okay, that's happening.
Yes.
It was a little like they definitely couldn't do any of this.
Yeah, because this was a first comics publisher, so they're kind of like an indie comics. They could show more stuff.
Yeah.
They're still trying to get on the racks, so they're not showing like full blown nudity, but it's definitely more scant. Like the women, the lingerie they're wearing.
Oh yeah,
is very accurate. Everybody knows if you listen to this, I'm a big fan of Tim Sale's Catwoman, and that's got Tim Sale flair. So it's more cartoon, it's more comic booky. This was like Howard Chaykin must have spent hours and hours studying how to draw lingerie that accurate. Because goddamn, the ladies in his books look good in lingerie. I'll say
Oh my
that
goodness.
in the 80s lingerie. But yeah, it is definitely 80s lingerie, but it's fun. I enjoyed his art in this specifically too. But yeah, there's a good sense of humor.
There were underlying good sense of humor. Like we were saying earlier too, the way a lot of it was drawn was just so unique and very cool.
Yeah, the layout, it was just so it's hip.
Yeah,
That's what I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna call it hip. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I mean, I fucking love the way this book looks, and I've never seen anything like this ever again after this book. So he definitely went all out. Let's put it that way. He was like, "This is gonna be like my kind of opus or whatever." So, and I was telling John, like, every guy that he draws, especially after this comic, looks exactly like Randall Flagg. So like, he obviously was like, I like the way I draw this guy a lot. And now
change his hair color.
Yeah, change his hair color. Maybe give him a little jowly now he's older or whatever. But I always thought like Howard Chaykin just looked at himself in the mirror and then drew himself as he wanted himself to be. But then as the years went by, he's like, I'll just add a little jowls to, like, you know, like he made himself look more like his character looked more like him like, as he went on. But yeah. So what would you give this one, John?
So the art was great. The story was cool and unique, and it still had a lot of things that surprised me, even though, like you said, we've kind of seen what was pulled from it. So it still surprised me, and it still had a lot of wow moments in both like storyline and then panels. So so I'm gonna give this one an 8. Like it was a good read. Like you said, definitely not stuff you could do now. Definitely lots of extra machismo you like.
Yeah.
But it was good. I liked it a lot.
Sweet. I'm gonna give this one a 9. I just the style still blew me away, and I've already read this one. Like I read this whole trade. I read it like 15 years ago, and I was like, wow, that was crazy. And I was telling John this earlier. Howard Chaykin's art, when I first read it, I had never seen anything like it, and so I was like, I don't know if I like this. Like it's just something is weird or off-putting or just challenging my norm view of like what comics should look like or something.
Yeah.
And I think it is that like art design thing that we were talking about, like that he has like a designer eye or something. So it looks different than other comics. And so I was like, I like it, but I don't like it. And I was telling John, it's like falafel the first time I had that. I was like, wow, this is like an interesting, different taste. And like, I'm not sure if I like it. And then later on, I'd be like, I want some more of that weird, interesting taste. Like it just, like it grows on you. And then eventually you're like, this is fucking fantastic. I can't get enough of this. So same idea as falafel. Howard Chaykin is falafel. So, but yeah, so I enjoyed this. I'm going to give this a 9. It is right up there. It is one of my, especially like this specific story. It just throws you in it.
Yep. Not for kids and not for like your average comic book reader for sure.
Yeah, this is definitely challenging. I mean, you're gonna want to read. Okay, go into this being like, if I'm a nowadays person, I might be slightly offended by the things in this book. Or I don't think the women are particularly treated badly in this, but they definitely are sexualized in this.
Yeah, they're sexualized, but they're still strong. Like Mandy still.
Yeah,
she's still badass, and
I never felt like Mandy or Media or anything were like less than or treated badly by the men in it or whatever. They were just like always
just when it's and to be fair, they were very much like, I want to fuck.
They were the initiator.
Yeah. So just to put that in a perspective, and for the time, it's also the product of its time.
Yes.
So
and also a product of Howard Chaykin, who I think there's a specific quote, and it's something like, I like to draw tits and I like to draw fights or something like that. Like that's what I like to draw. And it's just like, yep, that's what this book is. It is his idea of what like a heroic strongman, pulp character would be. And then the ladies that want to fuck him or whatever, it's like, or the ladies that are in that world or whatever. And it's, I don't know. I like this book. Nothing's like it, especially nowadays. If you're only been reading comics from the 2000s on, you have not read this book, anything like this book before. Even like, like I said, Watchmen or any of that. Those are like literary and masterful and everything. And this has a lot too. Like the way he sets up the storyline in this, he introduces you to the world pretty masterfully, and then gives you like the
it doesn't hold
story.
your hand. He just like, here's the story. Take it as it is.
Yeah, but the way he introduces, like, okay, here's the media, and then like, at first the spaceport, and the idea that we're landing at a mall.
Yeah.
So that says something about the world, and then here's the TV shows, and then here's a TV show the main character was in. Like he was Mark Thrust, and like just all that kind of stuff. It definitely he gives it to you in chunks at first, and they don't really have to do with the story until later on when he gives you the full story. They're like, oh, this is where we're at. But I just like the way he introduces all that stuff and the ideas and this world, and he builds this world very, very well. And I love the art in this book. So that's a 9 for me. I mean, there's not many books I will give a 10. So this is definitely, as close as we're getting for a lot of this stuff. So, but yeah, next week we will be reading the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers from Boom Studios, Volume 1.
That's exciting. I didn't know there was a Power Rangers comic book. I remember loving them, back in the day.
Yeah, I didn't know there was either, really. But then I was listening to a podcast or someone, and they were like, man, this Power Rangers shit is great. And I'm like, what? Are you fucking serious? So apparently this is some shit I missed, in the last, 5 years that I overlooked and need to check out. Because I don't know if y'all were around in the early 90s, but when you hear Go Power Rangers, Go Power Rangers, you Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So yeah, I mean, this is ingrained in my brain. I don't know about you, but I wanted that fucking dagger, the dragon dagger.
I'm gonna find
toy.
it. You're gonna get it for a birthday eventually.
I wanted that so bad. I remember there was always like, if you mail in 5,000 box lids from this cereal, you will be entered to win.
To possibly win.
Yeah, this Green Ranger Dragon Dagger or whatever, and it was fucking awesome, and I always wanted to buy that cereal.
I like that he had shoulder pads. I always liked his little...
Yes, he was the coolest by far.
Of course, Tommy.
By far. Tommy, I love you if you're still alive, which I think you are.
He is, yeah.
Is, right?
Yeah, I met him at a Comic-Con.
Okay,
later.
just I don't know. But if you are... Frank. You were the best. You were always the best.
He's in MMA now too.
Is he?
Yeah, I don't. I honestly don't know the record. I couldn't tell you that.
Who knows? Anyway, but yeah. So on that note, if you guys want to email us, if you guys have any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can send those to Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, all one word, at gmail.com.
And don't forget about our Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube channel for exclusive content. We're definitely going up as subscribers, and we might have a YouTube contest going on right now if you're listening.
We might, or we do. God damn it.
Or it's over. We do.
We do right now. If you're listening to this come out this week, we have a contest. Go to YouTube, Planes, Trains, and Comic Books channel, and comment on a video and subscribe. If you do those two things, you'll be entered to win a Comixology gift card. We're looking at, a good chunk of change for Comixology.
We're gonna let it go a little bit. So we're gonna do 100 subscribers, but we won't.
We're celebrating 100 subscribers, so we'll let it go over 100 a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we are currently at 99, so we're pretty close. So if you want to win a nice Comixology gift card, just go to the YouTube channel and comment, hey, like the episode or anything, whatever you want, and subscribe, and
you could be a winner.
You could be the winner. You'd possibly be one of the few people who have entered. So we're trying to get people who want, gift cards on this thing. So, we want to give people who read comics some free comics. And so, go there, subscribe, and leave a comment, and you'll be entered to win a Comixology gift card. And on that note, we will see you on the next one.
On the next one.
Bye.